Welcome to another news video. Anyway, so let's just get right into it. Sadly, we got some sad news. There was a drummer by the name of Les Binks. Les used to play the drums for Judas Priest in the late 70s. It was around the time of when Judas Priest was really coming to their own. And some people may not know this about some bands, but Judas Priest and Motorhead are actually two bands that they were actually doing speed metal before speed metal was even a genre. So the impact of Judas Priest and their contributions to not just music, but to heavy metal in general cannot be understated. And Les Binks was able to bring his own contributions as well. He did manage to make it to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, so it was nice that he was able to have that moment in the sun. So, goes without saying, but to Les Binks' family and friends, my heart definitely goes out to them, and it never is easy when you lose somebody. Regardless of age, it's inevitable to us all, so it's always unfortunate when someone passes away. Les Binks, rock in peace, my friend. So we're going to try and transition to something. How's this for a transition? So I'm in the process of editing this video right now, and I actually came across two tidbits of news. Both of these are noteworthy. One of them involved my favorite band of all time, so I can't wait to talk about that, but I think everyone's going to be way more excited about this one right here. As you can see from behind me, this is from BAND-MAID's official X account. They posted something here to where they basically are saying that they're going to be doing another anime song. I believe the last two, if I remember correctly, was Zen and Ready to Rock. Both of those were anime OPs, so they were the opening intro song to the anime. Now this one's actually got to be an ED, so this is going to be the anime outro here. And I believe it's to the anime, I could be butchering this, but I believe it's called Tougen Anki. And the anime is scheduled to air in July 2025. And the new song for the ED, BAND-MAID's new song, is called What is Justice? So, very interesting stuff there. Can't wait. Now, this last tidbit, it's only because it's Motorhead related, so I just want to talk about this thing. And that actually involves, one, they did do the statue in, I believe it was Lemmy's birthplace, if I remember correctly, so they did that recently. But there was also something else that they released. Well, maybe I should say they're going to release. And they actually are going to be releasing, I think it's Lost Tapes, and it's supposed to be a brand new album that they are set to release with the classic lineup, to my understanding, of Motorhead. That is, of course, Fast Eddie Clarke on guitar, Phil Filthy Animal Taylor on drums, and of course Lemmy himself on bass and vocals. There is only one problem with this particular story, and that is we kind of already had these songs already released. So whatever we're getting, it's not completely brand new here. Chances are you probably saw or already heard this on a previous release on one of Motorhead's albums. Now, I think they are using the term digitally... My bad. Not remastered. Restored. And also, not digitally. Well, unless you count the CD. There's a good chance that it might have better quality sound this time around, so that's an added plus. I believe the name of the tapes that they are calling it is something like Manticore Tapes, Anything Motorhead, you have my attention. I'm going to talk about it. Unfortunately, though, this may not be quite too impressive if you're looking for something that is completely brand new and truly lost. So that's the two tidbits of anything that's breaking as of right now. But as far as I know, this is it. Again, if there are any additional stories and information that you think I've missed and that you think I should let everyone know about, let me know down in the comments, and maybe I'll do an update video. And of course, depending on how juicy the news is, maybe even a whole brand new video altogether. And with that, back to the original video. But speaking of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, we actually got our inductees for 2025. And here is the full list. And out of everybody on this list, why is there 4 that just jump out at me? I say that because, well, there's 2 that I thought were already in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and 2 that the growing trend of, like, you really shouldn't be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I'm just going to be negative about this. You're going to be seeing a lot here on this channel when it comes to this. You have the name Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So what comes to your mind when you think rock and roll? You think rock music. So what's rock and roll about Salt and Pepper? What the hell is rock and roll about Outkast? This makes 0 sense to me. Now, granted, they have their own contributions to when it comes to, say, rap or pop. And that is their genre, so, you know, all the power to them. But what did they do with rock exactly? That's an area of expertise that I'm just kind of lost, and I'm trying to think, what the hell? Now, I know some people would probably say, well, Liv, come on. What about jazz musicians? What about blues? What about country musicians? You know, Johnny Cash is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You have people like maybe Muddy Waters in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I'm over here like, yeah, you can make an argument that maybe those individuals were maybe not in the world of rock per se, except for maybe Johnny Cash, because he's kind of rockabilly, half country music. But the thing is the thing that separates them from the people today is they were early influences. They influenced the early beginnings of rock and roll. So the people that garnered inspiration were those that came from an earlier era. And they mimicked that and added their own spin to it to make it to what it is. A great example of this is quite possibly looking at Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin, they did a lot of blues licks, to the point it was perjury.
Say, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
A jury has come back with a verdict for Led Zeppelin, saying the band did not steal the opening of its iconic Stairway to Heaven. KCAL9's Randy Page is live at the federal courthouse in downtown LA with reaction and some controversy on the case. Randy?
Well, Juan, as you can imagine, defendants in this case, Robert Plant, Jimmy Page, the entire defense team, extremely happy with the decision, saying they thank the jury for its service and they're confident the jury, in fact, did make the right decision. But the plaintiffs tell us they are extremely frustrated by this verdict, largely because the comparison you are about to hear, first Stairway to Heaven followed by the Spirit song Taurus, is a comparison the jury never had a chance to hear. Randy California's song Taurus was copyrighted using sheet music back in the 70s, so for legal reasons, the jury was only allowed to watch musicians perform the sheet music and compare that to the recording of Stairway to Heaven. Plaintiffs believe it was very difficult for the jury to be able to make that determination. And plaintiffs are also saying this is not a case about money. They say it's about the legacy of Randy California, or Randy Wolf.
We offered to settle this case for $1 and some writing credit for Randy, which they turned down. And this case was never really about money. It was about Randy and his legacy.
Today, Robert Plant and Jimmy Page issued a joint statement which says, and I'm quoting now, "We are grateful for the jury's conscientious service and pleased that it has ruled in our favor, putting to rest questions about the origins of Stairway to Heaven and confirming what we have known for 45 years. We appreciate our fans' support and look forward to putting this legal matter behind us." And that they will, because the jury has spoken. Stairway to Heaven is not a copy of the Spirit song Taurus.
Now, in a desperate attempt to fill 24 hours of programming, here's some bullshit that happened somewhere today.
So, yeah. So there's always been early influences in music. And it makes sense when it's an early influence impacting a greater name that is within the genre of rock and roll. And it's one thing when you talk about early influences, but like these days, dude, bro, like, I'm just gonna say it. There ain't nothing rock and roll about Outkast and Salt and Pepper. I'm sorry. And I'm sure in the world of pop and rap, they're gonna feel the same way when it comes to rock and heavy metal. I'm sure that Metallica isn't going into the Rap Hall of Fame anytime soon. Although if they did, that would be incredibly weird.
How do you do, fellow kids?
What?
Years from now, there are going to be people that are going to be walking through the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they're going to be thinking, man, Christina Aguilera was a great rocker, you know? And I'm actually just going to go ahead and just play this clip of Lemmy. I'm pretty sure this was probably all the way back in like 07. And Lemmy Kilmister of Motorhead said this.
I mean, there's a lot of people who say they're rock and roll. I mean, they say fucking Britney Spears is rock these days. Let me assure you, and I speak from a wealth of experience, she isn't.
Just let it be known, he said that when he was alive. So he called it years ago, a decade ago. I have to stand with Lemmy on this. Like, it's a case to where the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame isn't rock anymore. And to be frank, that's actually where my nitpicking all stems from. It has nothing to do with the individuals that they want to bring into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It has everything to do with the name that you LARP as. If the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame just changed their name to Music Hall of Fame, literally, I would have zero issues. You could bring in whoever the hell you want in the world of music, and this time you don't have to hide it. But it's the fact that you LARP as a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's where I draw issue from. It has nothing to do with who's going in. It has everything to do with the name, in my opinion. That being said, as we take another look at the full list again, I'm just going to go ahead and say this right now. Well, I guess a couple of things right now is, one, Joe Cocker and Bad Company, I thought they were already in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Why do we need more rappers and pop artists coming into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? I kind of felt like Run DMC made sense because they kind of helped revitalize Aerosmith's career, if you know the status of that. Basically, from that, it was a case of, if you know the history, Aerosmith was actually in a decline. things were actually looking really bad. They did kind of like a super group of Run DMC and Aerosmith, and when Aerosmith was in a decline, they were introduced to a whole new audience. Everybody in the world of rap and hip-hop, they were looking at this and they were being exposed to a whole new genre that they completely ignored. And they looked at it as, well, if Run DMC say that they are good, then I guess they're good. So being exposed to a whole new audience just paved the way to get a whole new crowd in rock. And I think that's a contribution that can be noted. We could also go into the same detail about how Public Enemy and Anthrax did their collab with the song Bring the Noise, which is an absolute banger, especially if you're like me and a big Tony Hawk fan. Oh my God! Now, according to what I've heard, is there was also 2 names that was snubbed from the class of 2025 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And there's one particular music act that it's one of those things to where it's like, how many years do I have to hear that this band was on the ticket and they just fall short for another year? It feels like it's been over a decade, and this music act has constantly been coming up short for whatever reason. For yet again, for another year, Iron Maiden. They are not going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame yet again for another year, and I'm sure they're going to get snubbed for another year next year. The other one that almost got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame but got snubbed, Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey is probably not that bad. I do recall hearing a few songs years ago when I was a teenager. I thought they were okay at the time. I'm sure if I listened to them again, I would say probably not my vibe, but I could still find something about it that I could respect. Point is, not my music, not my level of expertise. I can't say anything good or bad about it. But the one thing I can say, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, hell no. Please, for the love of God, hell no. And again, not Mariah Carey's fault. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, just change your name to Music Hall of Fame. We'll all be good. I could stop ranting about this and would not be a big deal. And we come to our final story of today. If for those that had their eyes on the Fyre Festival 2, it's been postponed. Not postponed, but canceled. And Billy McFarland is stepping away, and not just stepping away, but also selling the Fyre Festival brand. It was postponed back in April. I was sitting on this waiting for more information and more music news to come up. This may or may not be true, but Mexico had no idea that Fyre Festival 2 was even taking place. Coffeezilla did an interview going into more detail on this matter, amongst other things. I will be linking this down in the description below if you want to check it out. And with the cancellation, there are refunds going out even all the way back when it was quote-unquote postponed. We have to wait and see if anything comes out of this, but my guess is this is the end of it.
Here's some bullshit that happened somewhere today.